What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and this is my Modern Warfare 3 ending explained video, as earlier today I streamed an entire walkthrough of the single-player experience with no commentary, while I had my team over at Detonated put up each mission walkthrough here on the channel, which is currently available in a brand new playlist. There's also plenty of article coverage of each individual mission that you can find on detonated.com, but I'm recording this video in the podcast room, as this is a much different video from usual. I do cover stories often as I can from time to time. I do plan on having a long-form review of the entire campaign on the Bombshell podcast tomorrow. We'll be live here in the morning at around 1 o'clock p.m. Central. Hopefully I see you guys in chat. Now, fair warning, we are discussing Modern Warfare 3 campaign spoilers in this video, so if you haven't played MW3 yet and don't want to spoil the story for yourself, click off this video now and come back to it after you played the game. So MW3 has 14 total campaign missions, 8 of which are traditional and linear, while the other 6 are open combat ones, which give you a lot more freedom. Well, during the 13th mission, Danger Close, Shepard continuously proves his ignorance and stupidity, as he also did earlier in the campaign, by being damn sure that Makarov was killed in action after you absolutely leveled all of Kony's defenses in Urzikstan. Together as one, Task Force 141, Shadow Company, and Shepard together successfully neutralized the Kony chemical weapons that were there before calling it a day. While 141 aren't convinced that Makarov was killed, Shepard and Graves are due to appear in court where they both stab each other in the back. In exchange for rescuing Shepard from his Kony captivity, he agreed to clear Farah's name from the stage attacks that Makarov set into motion, which tricked the world into believing that the ULF, which are Farah's group in Urzikstan, committed a terrorist attack. While doing so, he's questioned as to how Farah's team in Urzikstan had access to the nuclear power that they did, since the weaponry did come from the United States. Shepard admits that he'd authorized a shipment of arms to Urzikstan to help them fight Al-Qatala, but lied about giving Graves and Shadow Company the order last year to eliminate Task Force 141 in Las Almas. We of course saw this during the betrayal in Modern Warfare 2, when Graves is questioned, however, as to who gave him the orders to attack 141. He then stabs Shepard in the back and reveals that it was his command that did give those orders. Now, something that I was expecting in the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, which didn't happen but could still happen later, is the fact that Kony infiltrated Shadow Company from within, as we saw in the Shadow Siege Warzone event a couple of months ago. I figured this was setting the stage for the eventual downfall of Shadow Company, in the sense that Kony infiltrated them from the inside, and that would lead to some crazy plot point in the campaign, but that didn't happen. Now, as we'll talk about in a second, the future of Shadow Company is probably not the brightest because of what happens to Shepard, but I'm still curious where that leaves Graves at the end of the day. So 141, with the help of Laswell, end up tracking Makarov's whereabouts in London, where they intercept Kony in some subway tunnels and defuse a bomb which Makarov planted to kill more civilians with. This is where the unexpected happens. Up until this point, no one in Task Force 141 had been killed off yet. Makarov comes out of nowhere, shoots Soap in the chest, and just before he can kill you, or Price, Soap gets back up and holds off Makarov to save you, which gets him killed in the process. 141 finishes defusing the bomb, as Makarov indeed does get away. Laswell then blacks out and classifies events that happened during that mission, but does confirm the death of John Soap McTavish. Now, yes, Soap unfortunately dies, and he did die in the original Modern Warfare 3 from 2011, but I'm not saying that you should have predicted or assumed that this was going to happen again. Did they have to repeat that story beat? Absolutely not. But for those that are saying it's an anticlimactic way to go, the way they killed Soap in this new MW3, here's what I'll say about that, right? Yes, it's a game, but I feel like his death in this new MW3 does echo how real war actually is. Although many games we played over the past couple of decades have had big epic moments and big death scenes for our favorite characters, that's not how real war works at all, right? Not anybody out there, or not everybody out there in war, gets a chance to say bye to their loved ones or gives like one last dying speech before bleeding out. That just doesn't always happen. It could happen, but for the sake of this story here, it made sense the way that he died, and I think if anything, it just raised the stakes for Makarov as a character. It just showed how brutal his character really is. I mean, it followed up from a quote that we heard earlier in the campaign where Soap threatens to literally shoot Makarov in the head. Makarov returns the favor all those years later, so that made sense. And I think if anything, if there wasn't a death in the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, people out there probably would have said something that we'll elaborate more on later in this video, but that it's a $70 DLC with no stakes and no balls. So they did something really bold that, yeah, you could say it was just for shock factor, but will be felt for years to come in this Call of Duty timeline. Now, it's crazy to see comments now saying that Soap or Task Force 141 should have won the Faction Showdown event back during Season 5, but for other people out there saying that campaigns are a waste of dev effort, here's what I'll say real quickly. Campaigns are the heart and soul of every Call of Duty title. Although Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign, that game still had a pretty good soul because of Blackout and the amount of content that went into multiplayer and zombies. But for every other COD title, man, the campaign is always the heart and soul, letting players immerse themselves in the environments and the narrative of the game before mindlessly playing multiplayer and zombies after that, or Warzone later. Gives you a chance to really get a feel for all the weapons, the characters, and the maps we're going to be seeing in other game modes. So I hope campaigns are still here to stay. I do not want to see them removed from future COD titles. But then towards the very ending of the game, 141 mourn Johnny, and then the game cuts to credits. Now, a quote that really stuck with me that we heard in Modern Warfare 2 that Ghost told Johnny was, "I want you to be better than me." And Price then reiterates while they're carrying the ashes of Soap that he was the best of us. And it's a pretty emotional moment. I mean, fans have really grown to love the dynamic between Johnny and Ghost. It was done very well in this Modern Warfare reboot, so it's sad that we're probably not going to get anything like that again between them two, unless there are flashbacks in a future installment. But then there's a post-credit scene. Price ends up killing Shepard for being a dirty, lying, manipulative, power-hungry, ego-filled son of a gun, and I would say that death was well-deserved, right? Shepard, of course, is killed at the ending of MW2 2009, but he was only in that game, whereas Shepard is referenced lightly in Modern Warfare 19, has a pretty large role in Modern Warfare 2, and we do get a glimpse of him or a cameo through the Shadow Siege event, and now we have his ending here inside of MW3. So overall, I think they could have done more with Shepard as a character. Wish you would have sported the mustache. Not the casting I have a problem with. I think Glenn is a fantastic actor, but they could have done a little bit more with Shepard's character in this new Modern Warfare reboot, but so be it. He did what he did. Everyone has come to hate him, and it was time for him to get whacked. But with that, it looks like the gloves are off for 141. They're going to avenge Johnny and go after every single MFer that stands in their way. I think with the quote that we got from Modern Warfare 3, you got to cut the heads off of snakes. They're probably going after Graves next. I think they're going to go after absolutely everybody with no mercy moving forward. If Soap didn't die in Modern Warfare 3, maybe they would be a little bit more tame as they hunt Makarov down, but that death definitely hurt the group. Now here's the thing, right? We didn't get a mention or a cameo from somebody like Sandman, Roach, or Joseph Allen, but there's a lot of potential for those characters to pop up in a future MW title or a spin-off game, even the post-launch story. You just never know. As a reminder, the new Modern Warfare Trilogy does follow a lot of story beats as the original MW Trilogy. Again, they're both separate trilogies, not canon to one another, but with MW, the new trilogy that is, being a bit behind pacing-wise from the old trilogy, it makes sense as to why they likely want to save the appearances or introductions of those classic characters. And if anything, now we have some shoes to fill, right? The shoes of Johnny could be filled by someone like Sandman or Roach. We'll have to wait and see when that exactly happens. But with that, we do get more Soap inside of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies at some point soon. As a reminder, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies does take place in between Modern Warfare 19 and Modern Warfare 2, so it still makes sense as to how he's a main character in that Zombies iteration. I think there's also potential for a Ghost spin-off in some way, shape, or form. I think we've talked about this in length before here on the channel, but just to reiterate, right, we don't exactly know how deep this death was for Ghost. I mean, he could still assist Task Force 141 in hunting down Makarov and whoever else, for sure. He'll probably be the one to end up killing Makarov in this new timeline, but it's also possible, and I wouldn't be shocked if he goes off and forms his own group of Ghosts, and that could be a way they retcon or reboot the COD Ghost story, and we can get a game centered around that to avenge Johnny. We get cameos from 141, like Price, Gas, Farah, Alex, so on and so forth. Wouldn't be shocked if we saw that, but just wait until Alejandro ends up finding out about the death of Johnny, because they were boys in Modern Warfare 2 last year, so I'm curious to hear what his response is to the death of Soap. Really curious about that. But like I put over on Twitter earlier today, the new Modern Warfare Trilogy is unique to me because Modern Warfare 19 set a really strong foundation for this new universe. It confirms that Modern Warfare and Black Ops are now crossed over, and the new Modern Warfare series is, of course, a reboot of the old one. The old trilogy is not connected whatsoever, but Modern Warfare 2 really doesn't feel like a sequel to Modern Warfare 19. It feels like a standalone story using the same characters by following up on very, very tiny moments of Modern Warfare 19, if not much at all. So Modern Warfare 3 comes into the mix and does feel like a proper sequel to Modern Warfare 19. I would say, if anything, the raid episodes in Modern Warfare 2 plus the the Shadow Siege event within Warzone follow up beautifully on Modern Warfare 19 story and then all the DMZ intel we got through the faction missions. This game continues that, picks up where that left off, but doesn't really at all follow up on anything from Modern Warfare 2, aside from the court hearing where they address the attack at Las Almas, where Shepard and Shadow Company betray 141. Aside from that, we get no mention of Valeria, Alejandro, or even Rudy. Now, we'll talk about when they could follow up on this in a little bit, but my question for you guys is, would this have been better as a DLC for Modern Warfare 2? If they would have marketed this as a campaign expansion for Modern Warfare 2, would this have been received better? Right now, I'm seeing comments all over the internet really bashing on this campaign, giving it a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10, maybe even lower. I mean, I'll leave that for you guys, right? Did they have to make this its own Call of Duty? I actually think they did. I don't think this would have sold well or been received that well as just a DLC for Modern Warfare 2, if that's how they would have marketed it. But was Soap's death necessary because the game needed shock factor and it needed to solidify itself as a standalone campaign in a separate Call of Duty? Or did they add that in at the last minute? I'm really curious what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comment. But in terms of when they could follow up on this crazy narrative, right? Will it be the post-launch story? Will it be a Modern Warfare 4? Here's what I'm thinking, right? As of right now, the rumor stands that with every season of Modern Warfare 3 that we get, there's going to be a focus on an older Call of Duty title in that season, meaning that we'll get weapons, maps, and probably cosmetics that fit the theme of that older COD title. If that is the case, I don't see how they could even do a post-launch story for Modern Warfare 3 with those kind of seasons. If those seasons are fun, just like Modern Warfare 2 Season 6, where it's a pretty standalone season that goes off on its own adventure and doesn't really follow up on the narrative at all of the base game that season is a part of. We'll have to wait and see how that works. But if they do a seasonal story, I'd be really excited to see where they go with all of this. There's so much they could follow up on, either picking up where MW3 left off with Las Almas, Valeria, Alejandro, or them going after Makarov and avenging Johnny and who knows what else. There's so much they can do with that, which might be best saved for a Modern Warfare 4. Now, in terms of when that game could come out, Infinity Ward's next Call of Duty title isn't apparently going to come out until 2026. I mean, with the rumor right now that we're getting back-to-back Black Ops games, 2024 and 2025, I think the soonest we get another Modern Warfare entry would be 2026, but who actually knows? Now, a little bit of feedback on the open combat missions. Here's the thing, right? I feel like there were maybe one too many open combat missions. They could get a bit repetitive in the sense that if you just kind of go guns blazing in all of them, they're all essentially the same. But if you play them differently with different equipment, weapons, or using stealth, you'll probably have a lot more fun with the missions. I want to replay them before giving a proper review on how they all worked. I get the comparison, though, to the fact that the open combat missions felt like Spec Ops episodes or raids. They could have even made them co-op, and that probably would have been better. But I wonder if those were added into the game because maybe ran out of time with working on this campaign, so they had to prolong the campaign somehow by giving players something to do to make sure the campaign was at least over 4 to 5 hours long. But for those saying that the missions were too similar to Warzone, I get that feedback. You're entitled to your opinion, but we've seen lots of elements, especially in Modern Warfare 2 last year, where some of the missions do give you armor satchels and plates and other forms of equipment that we don't typically see in the linear missions. So it's not like it's anything new to get the special items that we did inside of the open combat missions. I get it. Maybe it was a bit different because of the vehicle usage or the fact that there were kill streaks included, but you get the point. The last thing I'll end with is in regards to any possible Black Ops tie-ins. Sadly, there are no mentions of Cortus Die, Menendez, even though the events of this game take place in 2023, just 2 years before the Menendez takeover. Maybe they'll follow up on that in the post-launch or a future COD title where there is a very intertwined writing group between Treyarch and Infinity Ward. Maybe that'll be possible later. I have heard rumors, though, that apparently Perseus flags are present in the campaign somewhere. If I can find a screenshot of that, I'll put it on screen or I'll just tweet it out later on Detonated. I'll keep you guys updated. But for those also wondering, what about the outbreak of Verdansk with the zombies, right? Was that referenced in this campaign? Did they even mention the fact that Verdansk was nuked a couple of years ago? They didn't, but the thing is, right, the writers purposely dance around those big events to make sure they can tell an uninterrupted and original story. Not to say that those events aren't canon. I think Modern Warfare Zombies will do a good job in the next couple of weeks explaining the fact that those events are canon. They'll probably explain it through intel or some dialogue somewhere. I believe everything is still canon, but the fact that we didn't get it shoved in our face in campaign has people doubting that fact. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the ending and post-credit scene of the Modern Warfare 3 single-player campaign? That was my general breakdown of the ending of the game and just my initial thoughts on the completion of it, right? My thoughts on the narrative, the shocking death, and all the things we noticed along the way by completing all 14 missions. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.